everyone. I hope you all are doing good. तो अभी तक हम लोग लॉ के मेजर सब्जेक्ट्स पढ़ चुके हैं which are relevant for CLAT. अब हम लोग सारे miscellaneous laws पे जाने वाले हैं and in the miscellaneous laws हम लोग different laws cover करेंगे. Not in detail but we'll touch all the important concepts of these miscellaneous laws. So starting with the first law which is Hindu law. अब काफ़ी स्टूडेंट्स का बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्ट होता है इस लॉ में. वाई? बिकॉज दे कैन रिलेट टू द लॉ, राइट? सो हियर एंड आई वांट टू से कि हाँ इट इज़ इंटरेस्टिंग बट थोड़े कुछ पॉइंट्स हैं जो आपको समझने बहुत ज़रूरी है, राइट? नाउ लेट्स जस्ट बिगिन. ओके, सो स्टार्टिंग विद व्हाट इज हिंदू लॉ, राइट? और हिंदू लॉ किस किस पे एप्लीकेबल है? This is something of importance for us. Then, which all laws are there which tell us about the important concepts? For example, marriage, divorce, succession, right? Adoption, guardianship. ये सब कौन से laws में लिखा हुआ है, कौन से legislations में लिखा हुआ है? This is what we are going to do today. So now, starting with Hindu law. So the main objective of today's lecture will be what is Hindu law? Who is a Hindu? Who is not a Hindu? Right? Which all legislations deal with different concepts of law? For example, marriage, adoption, divorce, etc. Right? This is exactly what we are going to do today. Also, we are going to focus on only the main concepts. Right? So, if we see the pattern of the CLAT paper and the legal reasoning section itself, this law, that is the Hindu law, it is being extinct in the paper. Moreover, less questions are being asked from Hindu law, right? So, we need not waste much of our time on this. Hence, we'll quickly review it once. Now, starting with the Hindu law, where Hindu law comes from. So, there are various sources of Hindu law, and out of all those sources, we have to understand the ancient texts that are Smritis and Dharma Shastras, which are one of the major sources of Hindu law, and these basically tell us about laws in the ancient times and how these laws can be used even in today's world, right? So Manusmriti, right, Narada Smriti, all these are just examples of the laws. And what all do they tell us? Now, no direct questions will be asked from here. This is just for knowledge, hence we can simply skip it. Next is Nibandhas, which are also known as commentaries. And from these commentaries, we get to know about two big schools of law. Now, schools of law are nothing but the different ideologies which the people used to follow. तो ये schools कुछ नहीं होते, ideologies होते हैं, thinkings होती हैं, and people with a set thought structure or a set ideology are said to be one whole school of law, right? So the first school is Mitakshara school, which is basically given importance in the North and the West India, and it focuses on joint family property, right? Co-parcenary, and that the property should be shared by the family, right? Then we have something known as the Dayabhaga school. In Dayabhaga school, it holds importance in Bengal, right? And the property goes to the heirs after the owner dies, and there is no automatic inheritance by the survivors. This is what the Dayabhaga school says, right? Now, moving ahead to modern laws. So, if we talk about today's world, अगर आज की बात करें तो हमारे पास ये सारे laws हैं, ये सारे legislations हैं. First is Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. Then we have Hindu Succession Act of 1956, Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act under 1956, and Hindu Minority and Guardianship Act under 1956. तो ये मेजर लेजिस्लेशंस हैं जो डील करते हैं विद ऑल द मैटर्स, ऑल द सिविल मैटर्स कंसर्निंग द हिंदूज. नाउ जुडिशियल डिसीजंस. अब जुडिशियल डिसीजंस हमें पता है शुरू से ही बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट सोर्स रहे हैं ऑफ लॉ मेकिंग. हेंस जो भी जजमेंट्स आई हैं, राइट, दे होल्ड द कोर्ट्स बाइंडिंग, राइट. अगर सुप्रीम कोर्ट की जजमेंट्स हैं, देन all the other courts in the territory of India, they are bound by the judgments of the Supreme Court and the observations. So here courts act like interpreters telling us how old rules work today. Okay, so if we see the date in which these legislations were enacted, they are way too back. They are way too old, and they have been made in the year 1955, 56. So here we need to understand कि इतने पुराने लॉज की आज के टाइम में क्या एप्लीकेबिलिटी है और कैसे उनको अप्लाई करना है. दिस इज व्हाट इज डन फॉर अस बाय द जजेस इन द जुडिशियल डिसीजंस. आई होप दैट इज क्लियर. नाउ मूविंग अहेड टू मैरिज, राइट. नाउ हिंदूज कौन है, सबसे पहले हम ये समझते हैं. और जब भी हम बात करेंगे मैरिजेस की या फिर किसी भी कॉन्सेप्ट की इन द हिंदू लॉ, तो वो किन किन पे एप्लीकेबल है. Now, who is a Hindu? This is important for us, and this is something that we'll be understanding now. So, who is a Hindu? Hindu is any person who is not a Muslim, Christian, Parsi, right? If a person is none of these, then he or she is a Hindu, right? So it includes Sikhs, Jains, right? Hindus, Buddhists, all these are included in Hindus. These are Hindus. Okay, so apart from this, all the converts are those people जिनका पहले कुछ और रिलीजन था और अब कुछ और रिलीजन है. And the reconverts are Hindus. Also, one more thing, in order to convert to Hinduism, a person need not register anywhere. Right? A person need not register anywhere in order to become a Hindu. For example, let's say A is a Christian and he wants to become a Hindu now. So what are the conditions for him to become a Hindu? Simple सी condition है, he starts following the Hindu customs, he starts following the Hindu traditions, right? And he keeps on doing that for a long time, right? So that even the others get to know that, oh, he is a Christian, but he has been living since so long as a Hindu. That is enough for him to have said that I have converted to Hinduism, right? तो कहीं पे formal recognition required नहीं है हिंदू बनने के लिए. I hope this much is clear to everyone. Now, let's just read about marriage. So, marriage in Hindu laws is more than a mere contract. अब अगर हम बात करें Muslim laws की, on the other hand, marriages are in the form of a contract. Muslims में marriage का concept is that of a contract, right? So now here in Hindu laws, marriage is more than a ceremony, and marriage is not just a ritual, it's a legal and social promise. Very important. And the rules to remember are mentioned under Hindu Marriage Act of 1955. So if two Hindus have to get married, they have to follow these rules, right? But let's say one person is a Hindu and the other person is a non-Hindu. Then which law to follow? It is Special Marriage Act. Because Special Marriage Act caters to all the intercaste marriages, right? Now, let's just read how can two Hindus get married. Number one, both must be a Hindu, right? Secondly, monogamy only, that is no spouse should be alive. What do I mean by no spouse should be alive? Let's say that A got married in 2005, right? Now he has a spouse, right? He has a spouse, and in the year 2008, A again got married to a second person, to a third person, right? Here, this marriage will be void as it does not fulfill this criteria that at the time of marriage, the other spouse should not be alive, right? Let's say A had got married in 2005 and now his spouse, who was B, had died in 2006, due to which he gets remarried in 2008. He is allowed to do so. Moreover, in this case, let's say A got divorced from B in 2006. Even in that case, he will be allowed to get married in 2008, right? So this is something that you need to remember. Moreover, the age for grooms should be 21 and for brides is 18 plus. And no marrying close relatives. Now there is a concept of spinda relations. I'll have to explain spinda relations, right? Now, who all fall under the category of spinda relations? Okay, so I'll explain it here. Spinda क्या होता है? Spinda is nothing but prohibited relationships. Prohibited degree of relationships within which a person cannot get married, right? So, from the mother's side and from the father's side, you need to remember this कि दोनों साइड की फैमिलीज को देखा जाता है स्पिंदा रिलेशनशिप्स में, right? And usually from the mother side up till 3 generations and from the father side up till 5 generations the person cannot get married. For example, a boy cannot get married to his dadi, to his mother, to his nani, to his great-grandnanny, right? This is what you need to remember here. So up till 5 generations in the father's side and up till 3 generations in the mother's side. I hope this is clear. These are known as spindas. Now, here free consent is required for marriage. That is, no force allowed. For 2 people to get married, their consent has to be free, without coercion, without any sort of fraud, right? If there is no free consent, then such a marriage becomes a voidable marriage. Okay? It becomes a voidable marriage. Now, what do I mean by a voidable marriage and what is the concept of child marriage in India? So now, see, you have to understand here that prior to the change in the age of, the legal age of kids getting married, it was the assent of the guardians that was required to marry kids who were below the age of 18. Right? पहले 16 और 18 age होती थी, तो वहाँ पे from the bride side, the guardian had to give consent on behalf of the bride. But as we had already changed the age to 18 and 21, which is also the age of majority, here ये change हो गया था, assent of the guardians वाला concept change हो गया था हमारे पास, and now child marriage is voidable. It is not void, it is voidable. Why? Because it is to be decided by the parties in the marriage whether they want to stay in the marriage or they want to leave that marriage. For example, let's say एक लड़का है, ठीक है, उसकी शादी हुई at the age of 17. The girl at that age was at that time was 15 years of age. Now, once the girl turns 18, right, she has to decide for herself whether she wants to remain in that marriage or she wants to leave that marriage. Hence, such a marriage becomes voidable because it is optional for them whether they want to stay in that marriage or not. I hope that is clear. This is something that everybody needs to remember, that child marriages are always voidable and not void. Now, divorce. So the concept of divorce, I hope the concept of marriage is clear to everyone. Now we come to the grounds of divorce. Apart from this, there is one more fact which you need to remember, that free consent has to be given by parties who are sane or have no unsound mind. Even in this case, if the consent has been given in the condition of being unsound in mind, then the marriage becomes voidable. Let's say there is a woman जिसको epilepsy है, जिसको मिर्गी के दौरे पड़ते हैं, and during that condition she gave consent for her marriage. It is on the husband whether he wants to remain with that woman or whether he wants to leave that marriage. तो इसको हम क्या बोलेंगे? Voidable marriage बोलेंगे. Right? Now, let's just come to the grounds of divorce. I hope the concept of marriage is quite clear to everyone, because we are moving ahead with the concept of the grounds of divorce. Starting with the grounds of divorce, the first ground is adultery. Adultery means, adultery earlier used to be a criminal offense. It used to be a criminal offense. Now, what do we mean by adultery? Adultery simply means, let's say this is A, he is the husband, and A has his wife B. B is the wife, right? Now, B falls in love with another man who is X, right? Now, the charge of adultery was levied on the other man. So, this was the man on whom adultery would be levied, right? So, earlier it used to be a criminal offense, hence it was included in the IPC, but now it is no more a criminal offense, but it is still a ground for divorce, right? So, अभी भी ये ground है divorce का. Ground of divorce का मतलब if the husband wants to take divorce from his wife based on the ground of adultery, he can do so. Then, what do we mean by cruelty? Cruelty means torturing the person physically or mentally, right? Torturing the person physically or mentally, and also it is a penal offense under IPC. Then, desertion. For desertion means when the person has left his or her spouse for 2 years without any explanation, without any reason, and the years are 2 or less than 2 years. Then, conversion to another religion. Let's say there was a Hindu who converted to become a Muslim. Even then, the wife or the spouse can take divorce from the other spouse. Then, mental disorder or communicable disease. In this is also one of the grounds for divorce, and the spouse has an option of taking divorce from the person. Then, mutual consent. The spouses can obviously get separated by mutual consent, and they can consent that we do not want to stay in this marriage. These are just grounds for divorce. Now, I hope marriage and divorce is clear to everyone and there is no confusion in the concept of marriage and divorce. Now, talking about Hindu Marriage Act, we will now talk about all these grounds for divorce in detail. Why? Because questions can arise from here, right? So, let's just start with the first one. First of all, section 13 deals with the grounds of divorce. Now, the first one is adultery, which means voluntary sexual intercourse. So, one thing which is important is sexual intercourse. Voluntary means with knowledge and with consent by a married person with someone who is not their spouse. So, it must be voluntary and without consent of the other spouse, right? Wherein the husband has not consented. Okay. Now, let's say A is the husband. He enjoys seeing his wife be with other men, right? And I am telling you, these are real life cases, right? These are real life scenarios. So, please bear with them. A is the husband. He likes to see his wife with other men, sexually involved with other men. So, he asks B to get sexually involved with C, who is his friend. Now, after having said so or after having done so, A files a case in the court seeking divorce from his wife on the grounds of adultery. Can he get divorced on the same grounds? No, he cannot. Why? Because he had consented to such sexual intercourse. Right? I hope that is clear. Now, this applies only to the heterosexual marriages. Law as per statute, this is what you need to remember. Right? So, it does not apply to homosexual marriages. It does not apply to homosexual marriages. Right? Then, it is not required that adultery is publicly known. Right? Suspicion alone is insufficient. But here you need to remember that just because एक spouse को दूसरे spouse पे शक था, he cannot say that I want divorce on the grounds of adultery. Adultery should be established, right? तभी divorce मिलेगा, नहीं तो नहीं मिलेगा. Here was a case of B.K. Parthasarthi versus B.K. Jyoti, wherein the husband filed for divorce and adultery. Court held that evidence of adultery must be credible and proved. Mere rumors do not suffice here. Then, adultery as a ground can be rejected if condoned by the innocent spouse. Okay? Now, next one. Cruelty. What do we mean by cruelty? Cruelty clearly means causing physical or mental harm to the other spouse. So, physical cruelty includes assault, beating and torture. Mental cruelty, on the other hand, means insults, humiliations, threats, neglect, refusal to live together. All these points have to be there. Then, or not all these points have to be there, but some of this has to be there if you are claiming cruelty. Then, essentials. Conduct must be grave enough to make the life intolerable. Okay? Then, must be continuous or persistent, not occasional disagreement. Right? और जो ये cruelty है, it should be persistent. ये नहीं कि एक दिन कुछ कह दिया, so you file a case saying कि मुझ पे तो cruelty हुई है. Right? Next. Subjective misery is considered, but courts also access objective facts. So the facts should be such which clearly demonstrate that yes, this is a case of cruelty. Now, there was a case of Srimati Suman versus the state of Haryana, wherein the court held that mental cruelty is sufficient ground for divorce. Right? Because the husband refused maintenance and abused his wife verbally, the court granted divorce. And there have been such cases wherein the court has granted divorce on the grounds of cruelty. Then there was another case wherein Rukmani, which was Rukmani versus Ramesh, wherein physical assault plus neglect led to divorce. Now, then the third one is desertion. Desertion basically means wherein one spouse abandons the other without consent, reasonable cause or intention to return for 2 years or more. Right? What are the essentials here? Number one, intentional desertion, wherein the other spouse knew कि मैं अपने spouse को छोड़ के जा रहा हूँ. Right? Next, continuous. Mere absence for a short time does not qualify in this case. And without reasonable cause. ये नहीं कि husband job के लिए कहीं बाहर shift हो गया and he is not able to come for 6 months, so the wife can file divorce on grounds of desertion. Right? Then, case law. KL Sharma versus Mrs. Sharma. In this case, husband left wife for 3 years without support. Court held it as desertion and divorce should be granted in this case. What you have to check here is the time period and the consent or the justification for it. This is what you need to remember. Now, conversion to another religion. Now, what do we mean by another religion here? So, if one spouse voluntarily converts to another religion, the other spouse can seek divorce. And it must be voluntary and permanent. ये नहीं है कि spouse को किसी ने coerce करके उसका religion change कराया तो other spouse can seek divorce here. Voluntary word हमेशा याद रखना, also the word permanent. And it does not require harm, but conversion implies incompatibility of religious beliefs. Right? And the case law here was of Sarla Mudgal versus the Union of India, one of the landmark case laws, wherein the husband converted to being a Muslim just for the sake of getting married again. Why? Because in Hinduism, only monogamy is allowed, polygamy is not allowed. Right? So, husband converted to Islam to marry again. Court clarified conversion does not allow polygamy and divorce can be claimed under Hindu Marriage Act. Now we come to the fifth point, that is mental disorder. If the spouse suffers from a mental disorder making life together intolerable, then the court can grant divorce on this ground. And what are the essentials? Must be severe, incurable, and continuous. These three words have to be checked. Then temporary mental illness does not qualify here. Okay? Then we have a case law of Ramesh versus Sita, wherein the wife had long-term schizophrenia and the husband could not live together, hence the court granted them divorce. Next is communicable disease. अब communicable disease कौन सी होती है? Any virulent communicable disease making cohabitation unsafe or intolerable. Any sort of STD which is dangerous. AIDS, right? These are just example of such communicable diseases. So disease must be incurable. That is, there shouldn't be any medication or any treatment for it. Then requires medical evidence, and the courts generally allow divorce if disease renders life together impossible. Last one is renunciation of the world or the religious orders. संन्यास ले लेना. अगर एक spouse संन्यास ले लेता है, the other spouse can definitely take divorce from him or her. So cannot continue conjugal obligations. Why? Because उसने तो संन्यास ले लिया है. Marriage is considered dissolved in practice here. Next is presumption of death. Now usually in the older days when there used to be no phones, no internet, तो ऐसा बहुत बारी देखा गया था that the spouses used to go and they never used to return back, right? Let's say there used to be soldiers जो चले जाते थे और वापस नहीं आते थे या फिर वापस आते थे बहुत साल बाद, and in the meanwhile there was no know-how of those people, right? उस केस में क्या होता था? If a spouse disappears and is not heard from for 7 years, the other spouse may seek divorce. So must prove continuous absence for 7 years, and the court presumes death only if disappearance is unexplained. Right? अगर disappearance explained है, in that case the court can't grant any sort of divorce. और 7 years must है यहाँ पे. 7 years से पहले no divorce can be sought in such a case. Then the next one is mutual consent divorce. Mutual consent क्या होता है? जहाँ पे both the parties agree to end their marriage amicably. That is in a friendly manner, right? Now, the procedure here is that they have to file the petition jointly. Marriage has irretrievably broken down and the court waits 6 months. That is the cooling period to ensure free consent. The court still gives them 6 months to reconcile and try to check whether they actually want to get their marriage dissolved or not. Then, here is a case law which was Srimati Suman versus the state of Haryana. Her husband claimed cruelty by the wife. So it was the husband who said that my wife is being cruel to me, right? Now, the wife said he was abusive and the court said cruelty isn't just fights or arguments. It includes mental harm and sufferings. Justice looks at the bigger picture, not small quarrels. What is the bigamy check here? Bigamy means 2 marriages. So, some men see conversion as a key to get married again, right? So, here also Sarla Muggal ke case mein bhi yahi hua tha. Some men converted religions to marry again. The court said conversion doesn't let you break the monogamy rule and marriage is sacred and protected by law. So, I hope the entire concept of marriage and divorce is clear to you all. Now, we'll move on to the next important topic, which is adoption. Now, what is adoption? So, only Hindus can adopt. What do I mean by that? See, Muslims may or Muslim law may, there is no concept of adoption, right? So, as per the Muslim laws, there is no concept of adoption, but Hindus can adopt. And under which law? So, adopted kids are legally your own and inherit property and have rights like the biological kids. So, adoption is usually for kids under 15 years of age, but there are certain customs, there are certain customary laws which allow the adoption of children even who are beyond the age of 15. Now, Gopal Lal versus Madhya Pradesh, it said that dispute over adoption validity was there, whether the adoption was valid or not, and the court said if legal steps are followed, adoption is valid and including parents' consent. Now, what is guardianship? In case of legitimate kids, who are legitimate kids? Jayas bache. right, who are born out of a marriage, legal marriage, right? So उस केस में the natural guardian is always the father, then the second natural guardian is the mother, and it ends when the child reaches maturity. So once the child has become major, he need not get a guardian for himself. Then think of guardianship like parent guidance with a legal stamp. This is exactly what guardianship is all about. Now maintenance. Now see, there have been case laws which we need to understand related to maintenance and what exactly is maintenance, right? So maintenance क्या होती है? It is family care in law. So law says you support your family, spouse, children and parents. So one thing you need to remember here that children भी हैं, parents भी हैं. Children under the age of 18 or unmarried girls of any age till they get married, and if a child is insane, then of any age can get maintenance, right? And parents of any age can get maintenance from their kids. Also, in this case, we need to remember that step parents, even they can ask for maintenance from their kids, right? Now, includes food, shelter, education, medical care, etc. There was a case of Rajneesh versus Neha wherein the husband refused to pay maintenance and the court said that wife is entitled to live dignified life, not just survival but essential to live well. Right? This is what was said in this case. Now we talk about succession and inheritance. In succession and inheritance, we need to understand what is intestate succession, which is dying without a will, right? Intestate means dying without a will. Property goes to class 1 heirs first. In class 1, we have the spouse, the kids and the mother, right? You need to remember this. All these points will be clearly defined in the passage to you guys. Right? Now, if no class 1 heirs are there, then it goes to class 2 heirs, which are the relatives who will inherit your property. Then, coparcenary and gender equality. So here, before 2005, only sons shared joint family property. But after Hindu Succession Amendment Act of 2005, daughters too can do so. That is, a daughter can ask for her share in the undivided Hindu family property, joint family property, and she can take her share in the joint family, right? This was the case of Vinita Sharma versus Rakesh Sharma, wherein it was decided that daughters wanted her share in the joint family property and equal rights have to be given to the daughters by birth, right? I hope this is clear. And then there was another case which said the Mama versus the Suman Saroop versus Amar, right? In this case, daughter denied property and the court reinforced 2005 amendment stating that the girls also have equal rights over the Hindu undivided property. Now, here are a few concepts. Number 1, what it means in simple words. Spinda. What is a spinda? Cannot marry in close relatives, right? What is Stridhan? Stridhan is woman's personal property. She can control it. For example, the gold that is given to the women, even that can be taken as her Stridhan. Then we have something known as coparcenary. Who is a coparcenary? Family property shared among the members, and the members are known as the coparcenaries here. Then partition. Partition means dividing Hindu joint family property fairly. And what is dharma? Duty, morality or law. That is guiding life and law is what basically it means. So I hope you all are aware with all the important terms and how to go about them. See, you need not get into the depths of Hindu law. Why? Because it will be a mere wastage of time, because as we have seen the pattern of the questions, the level of questions and the number of questions has been reducing, it has been declining when it comes to Hindu laws. So please don't give too much heed to Hindu laws. Do study them once so that you know the important concept, right? If you have any doubts, please ask me in the chat box, and if you have any doubts, please do let me know. Please don't carry your doubts to the final day, right? So with this, I would like to end the class here and I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.